Man, this is a tough job. Trying to close out a conference of this magnitude. Let's give all of our presenters a round of applause. I'm going to do some things up here today that they did not do. I'm going to step on somebody's toes. And the reason that I'm going to step on your toes, or maybe all those that's already left, they're gone, so it might not be you. This message would have been for them. Because I need somebody to move. I need somebody to make some moves in their lives for the betterment of society. I could summarize this by saying there will be some subliminal messages that come from this talk today. So you're going to have to draw it out. You're going to have to figure out where you fit in. I could say that all of us need to be growing some of our food right now. And when you hear this message, you'll understand that. I could say that we are the landlords and the keepers of this land that has been put in our care. Close my book, and we can go home. But I'm not going to do that. I got a whole list of stuff right here that I want to talk to you about tonight. Good stewards, building stronger and healthy communities. On the entire shoulders of Metro Atlanta Urban Farm and the communities that we serve, I want to say I'm honored to be here with you at this great regenerative conference. Let me recognize the trailblazers and the indigenous people who are the original stewards of this land that we now live on. An old preacher said, "Trouble in my way." I have to pray sometime. If I may, as a farmer, I want to paraphrase that by saying trouble all around us. That's why we need to be growing some of our food. Russia and Ukraine fighting each other. Grow your food. Israel and Palestine fighting each other. Grow your food. The Democrats and the Republicans cannot agree on the best way to serve this great nation of ours. Grow your food. Rich people, poor people, at odds with each other. Grow your food. Just a few days ago, right next to Metro Atlanta Urban Farm, the drug dealers were shooting at each other. Grow your food. Just a few days ago, there was a mass shooting in Maine. Grow your food. The United States continued to carry out strikes in Syria. Man, there's a whole lot of war and fighting, shooting going on all around us. Grow your food. Trouble all around us. And in spite of these realities, I want you to know that I feel good about the space that we are in today. I feel good about the purpose of being here for the last few days. I feel good about what we can accomplish at this regenerative conference in spite of all the trouble around us. Now, some of you are going to pull out your phone and pull up this name. In the words of the Godfather of Soul, somebody know what I'm talking about. I feel good. I feel good. And the feeling of hope makes me feel that we can overcome the obstacles and stumbling blocks that stand in our way. And I hope that when you leave this place, if you're not feeling good, you're going to feel just a little bit better. My hope is that you will leave this conference with a better understanding of the collective and collaborated work that we need to be doing. My hope is that you will go back to your communities loaded with the information that will change people's lives in a positive way. My hope is, and most of all, that each of us will leave this conference with a better understanding of each other. Did my interpreter get here yet? Because at the end of the day, this southern accent ain't nobody understanding what I'm saying. But it's going to get just a little bit better. My hope is that before we leave here today, that you're going to understand what I said. I won't be around, so when you come up to me and say, Bobby, what did you mean by that word that you mispronounced? And I'm going to be able to explain it to you. Our work is focused on good stewardship, taking care of the air, the water, the soil, and that which has been placed in our care. We recognize the indigenous people of this land. We recognize those who came over on the Mayflower. We recognize those that came over on the hull of the ship. We recognize those who came to this country with the hope of a better understanding and a better life for them and their family. We recognize the trailblazers in your own respective communities. We are forever grateful for you for the work that you are doing. If I could say that I want to thank the planners and the organizers of this great conference. And I want to say thanks to all of you. Let's give them a round of applause. You're going to have to take that out of my time. Let's spread the word. If we are the landlords and the keepers of good air, good soil, and good water, then we are the examples of good stewards. Let's spread the word. Let's keep up the good work. We are the builders of communities through regenerative agriculture. I'm talking about good stewardship. being the landlord and the protectors of our natural resources, the air, the water, the soil. I'm talking about the land that has been placed in our care. This land is your land. This land is my land. This land belongs to all of us. I was going to take away her song, but she's going to sing later on. Let me say that another way. It was only a little while ago that Flint, Michigan, and Jackson, Mississippi, and the Hoover Dam was threatened with a lack of water and a lack of clean water. It has only been a few weeks ago that the Atlanta University Center, the Ronald Reagan International Airport, was flooded, along with many other metropolitan areas across the United States. Let us be reminded that this summer was the hottest summer in 2023 that has ever been recorded. I was only a little while ago when wildfires in Canada that blew contaminated air into North America, and it got down as far as Georgia, and we was able to feel it. I'm talking about clean air. It was only a little while ago that wildfires in California and other places across the West had a tremendous impact on our soil, and I heard it in a presentation today, and as that ash washed off the hills and down into the valley, it contaminated the soil. We are the voices that must speak power, that must speak truth to power. We are the ones that must continue to march towards that which is right. If we don't do it, then who? When everyone else has stopped, when everyone else has turned around, when everyone else has stopped raising their voices, we are the ones that must speak power to truth. We must march because at the end of the day, now you need to get this part, we must march because at the end of the day, this fight is not about us, but it's about generations yet to be born. Y'all ought to clap on that. There's some young folk up in here, but most of us, we done had our time. We're worried about the legacies that we're going to leave, but we should be worried about what will we leave in place for those generations that will follow us. As I recall back 50 years ago, the rights for women to make a decision about their own body was in place. 50 years later, Roe versus Wade was overturned. It took 5 decades because the system can't regulate guns, but the system can regulate women's body. Something wrong with the system. It took decades of fighting for people of color to have the right to vote. After decades of discrimination against farmers of color, the United States Department has already decided that we have discriminated against them. In the Inflation Reduction Act, $2.2 billion has been set aside for financial assistance for those farmers who have been discriminated against. It was a young man sitting over there the first day that I was here, asked the question about him being discriminated against by FSA, Farm Services Agent. He has a right to file a claim. Any of you have a right to file a claim against you, the United States Department and FSA, if you feel like you have been discriminated against. I know I'm coming down the stretch now. This is why I say that we must keep marching and fighting for all people. We must keep striving towards justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion for all people. We must, key word right here, co-create. We must co-create a process with Democrats and Republicans, poor people and rich people, indigenous communities. This must become a co-created process for all of us. Co-creation is hard because at the end of the day, everybody has a voice at the table. Everybody has a seat at the table. There's no little I's and no big U's. And we work out our situations. We work through the challenges that we are faced with. I'm going to raise a few questions with you as I prepare to close. I ask the question, are we raising a generation that don't know how to work and don't want to work? Are we giving our jobs to those who have theory and no practical experience? Are we making sure that technology and AI don't take over and we become more dependent and less productive? Are we able to grow our own food? These are the questions that I like to ask you as agriculturalists, as community leaders, as educators, and those who care about this great country of ours. Ponder those questions for me, please. Ponder those questions. While we are sleeping and fighting among ourselves, there are those who are fighting to turn back the hands of time. I'm talking about Tyrone Davis right now. Y'all pull him up and see who he is. Turn back the hands of time. If we don't wake up, what will happen to this great country of ours? Ponder that question. Metro Atlanta Urban Farm overarching goals is to create sustainable agriculture while building stronger and healthy communities. It is through the urban agriculture movement that we strive to create healthy economic empowerment zones while providing access to high-quality, low-cost produce. Metro Atlanta Urban Farm, through its urban agriculture program, also offers opportunities for therapy, relaxation, STEM education and research, and a focus on a holistic approach to building healthy and sustainable communities. Our work is centered around marginalized and underserved communities with the hope that we can change the mindsets of large institutions and convince these large institutions that community-based organizations like Metro Atlanta Urban Farm and those that are you that work in the communities have the quality to help improve the lives of those who live in the communities that we serve. Our work, focus on the communities that we live in. It's not about the money that we're going to make. Our work is about the generations that will follow us. Let's make it better for those generations. We believe in speaking truth to power. Don't blackball me because I tell you the truth. We believe in speaking power, truth to power. With the support of those of you who are in this room today, there's no doubt in my mind that we can and that we will take care of those natural resources that have been placed in our care. I'm talking about the water, I'm talking about the air, I'm talking about our soil, and most of all, I'm talking about those generations that will follow us. As I close tonight, I'm going to have to skip a page. As I close tonight, I want to raise these questions. Allow me to ask you this question. What's next? What will you do? If not now, then when? When will you make your move so I can get off of your toes? The air, the water, the soil, the community, and the generations that will follow us is our most important product. Let's nurture them all. Let's do it. God bless the farmer. God bless the USA.
Yay, thank you, Bobby. We have time for a few questions. If anyone has questions for Bobby.
Okay.
Is that okay, Bobby? You ready for some questions?
I'm always ready for some questions.
Great.
I want hard questions now.
Hard questions.
How do you inspire the next generation of agrarians to take on this path?
How do we inspire the next generation? That is so important. In Metro Atlanta Urban Farm, we are doing that. I have some pamphlets on the table where we are taking students to historical universities and encouraging them to get degrees in agriculture so that they understand the importance of agriculture and that maybe they will get the job with USDA and have a better understanding on how to serve the community. We are also offering up opportunities and internships for those students who are coming out of Fort Valley, Alabama A&M, and a few other colleges to come and intern with us so that they can have those personal experience. Every school that we go in from kindergarten on up, we have cards that we give kids. They're saying, I will be a good steward. And they're able to put their names on that card. And they carry that card with pride. So those are some of the things, and there are a few others that you will get a chance, the opportunity to come up and look at later on as we close out.
Thank you, Bobby, for your inspiration. My sister lives in Los Angeles and just moved to Denver with her family, and I've been pleading with her for several years now to have a few tomato plants or to can some fruit or to have some jerky. I'm wondering how we get people who already feel stressed, already feel pushed their backs against the wall, too much time to juggle, too many things to take care of. How do we get them to take more ownership of the food that we grow and what we put in our bodies and how we care for each other?
Boy, you're going to make me finish this speech anyway because that was the page that I missed. One of the most pleasing points in my life is in the morning time when I drive to the farm, which is about 15 minutes away from where I stay. And I open the garden and I open the farm up and I look at the marvelous work that the supernatural power has done overnight. I'm going to say that farmers, you need to be connected to social media. I want to say for those who are challenged with mental illness, and I've seen it at Metro Atlanta Urban Farm through our community garden, take time to go to the garden for meditation. Take time to go to the garden to watch something grow. I work with a therapeutic program, a drug rehab center. And the one thing that I tried to get them to understand, just as you got to nurture this plant to grow, you got to nurture your body the same way so that you can stay healthy, wealthy, and wise. I tell everybody, if you take care of the soil, it will take care of the plant. You don't have to use synthetic fertilizers, pesticides, insecticides. If you got a good soil, you'll do a good job. The plant will grow for you. And that's what we do at Metro Atlanta Urban Farm. Connect your sister to a community garden. Get some 55-gallon drums and cut them into 3 equal parts and turn them into planters and let her grow tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, squash, sweet potatoes, and anything else that she want to grow. And you can grow it in that 55-gallon drum that's 22 inches in diameter, 12 inches high, and in the middle one where there's no bottom and top in it, that's where you plant your sweet potatoes. And when you get ready to harvest the sweet potatoes, you just pull it up, and the sweet potatoes just fall out. You ain't got to worry about cutting none of your sweet potatoes up. I got to go back to Atlanta and ply my sweet potatoes up. But this is a good way to start a community garden on your patio, in your backyard, by using a 55-gallon drum.
Who do you credit for the motivation and your cause?
Well, that's a good question. I pretty much been ran off of every job that I've been on. In the last job that I was on, I was working for the University of Georgia as an extension agent. And my district director, my previous district director, she said, "Bobby, you're working too hard." When I did my monthly reports, I would have 2 or 3 pages of stuff that I had done because I was in the community for the community. And then I got a new district director. And the new district director called me in, and he said, "Bobby, if you give us a date that you will retire, we won't fire you." That inspired me. I've always wanted to do what folks told me I couldn't do. And he had told me pretty much that, "Bobby, you ain't doing a good job." But I left the University of Georgia, and it was almost like passing the baton. Because it wasn't a few days later, I had taken my retirement money, and I bought the 5-acre farm that I have right there in Atlanta right now. And I've been running hard ever since. And let me say this. Some of you out here meet the criteria of being a CNN hero. There's somebody out here, if you watch CNN, they are announcing for the 2024 right now. And I want to encourage many of you to apply for the CNN hero, because the CNN hero changed my life. What they told me I couldn't do, CNN said, "You doing it better than anybody else." They put the stamp of approval on me. Being invited to talk to you at this conference. Another stamp put on me. I don't know nobody else get around the country no more than me than the folk from Cornell University. Everywhere is anybody in from Cornell? But there's nowhere that I go that I usually don't see somebody from Cornell that's doing something. And I had my bouts with Cornell, and if you pick up one of my cards off the table, I was working with the bioscience department, where we were published in bioscience through the National Science Foundation. That was another stamp on the work that I was doing after I left the university. So, trouble in my way, I'm going to find a way over it, under it, through it, around it. Because at the end of the day, remember what I said, this work is not about us. It's about the generation that will follow. Can y'all hear me in the back right there?
All right. I think we're going to call it. So please, another warm round of applause for Bobby. That was the kind of energy we needed for the end of the conference. Yes.